Yesterday, I made over 13,000 USD in one single day. And here's how I did it. It was through something that if you had told me this only a matter of months ago, it would have been hard to even believe that that type of amount was possible in a single day, especially not actively working. It didn't actually take me anything in terms of having to sit there and do any active work in order for that money to be made. So how was it possible? What's even more incredible when I think about it is that this was basically work that's being done by other people, by other employees working for companies, basically on my behalf, in order to be able to generate that amount of capital. And all of it was done ultimately through smart stock investing in tech companies. So how did I go about doing this? Now, my journey of investing started quite some time ago, but I'd say it only really ramped up a matter of months ago, where I started to really take it seriously. I started to think to myself, I knew I wanted a level of freedom in my life. I knew I wanted to be in places like this, being able to record videos like this, while still being able to generate capital. So people always talk about passive investments. People always talk about how can I make money passively, but very few investments truly actually deserve and warrant that title, because some people talk about things like real estate, but is it really passive when you've got to manage a property? Yeah, you can have a property manager, but I used to own houses of multiple occupation. And to be completely honest with you, they were a nightmare. They were a complete pain in the backside, because every time the property manager had an issue, who did he contact in order to get approvals? Me. So I felt that even though I had the properties, they were very good financially, it wasn't really a passive investment, because it required my constant involvement. It required my constant approvals, etc. So when you're actually thinking about, okay, how can you create a set of circumstances in your life where you can build wealth, you can earn that type of money in a single day, but actually in a truly passive way, there's nothing that compares to investing in stocks. Now, this is how this came about for me in particular, because I started investing quite some time ago. I'd put in a continual amount of money each month to just build up the initial amount of capital within my account. And then what ultimately has happened is one of the investments I spoke about on the channel, one called Big Bear, BBAI. It's a defense-based company that I've been very, very bullish on. I did an individual video on them on my channel, so do check that one out. It basically is called something like, this one AI stock will make you a millionaire in 2025. So that particular stock has popped, or it popped yesterday. When I say it popped, it increased significantly. And pretty much just my position in that one company made me over $10,000 in a single day. And then there was a little bit that came in from some other companies that I'm invested in that took it up to 13,000. Now at the peak yesterday, I actually had an increase of 16,000, but there was a little bit of a dip during the day in real time. And this is just in one of my portfolios. And so what it goes to show is that if you can be smart and have a level of patience, you can continue to just put a bit of money each and every month into your stock account, into your portfolio, right? Bit of extra capital. And what you'll be blown away by is the way that this portfolio can then compound. And when it compounds, what's basically happening is these companies are continuing to work on your behalf. All of the employees, for example, at Big Bear, who are pushing every single day to drive that company forward, I get to get a share and benefit in the success of those particular companies and of that particular company based on the efforts that are coming forth from their employees. So there's no better model than this, because you pretty much own a piece of a company, a piece of an organization, and you don't have to do the actual work to drive that company forward, yet you still benefit from where that company ends up going over time. And that's exactly how my yesterday panned out. And so I sat there and had to have a bit of a pinch me moment, because it would have only been a certain amount of time ago. I couldn't have even imagined being in a set of circumstances like this. So you've got to think now to yourself, okay, you want to be in a similar situation. How can you get started? Now, I just ran through an AI engine. I wanted a breakdown of, if you started with $1,000, so you had $1,000 to your name to be able to invest, and you were able to add $1,000 each and every month, and you were averaging at a 10% return month over month. which, to be clear, is an aggressive return, but it's also not an impossible return. I'll explain a bit more about that in a second. So if you were investing $1,000 a month and you did that over a 1-year period, right? By the end of that period, you'd have about $25,000. If you did that over a 3-year period, just keeping the same, $1,000 in every month, 10% month over month average return. After 3 years, you'd have almost $300,000. And after 5 years, you'd have over $3 million. Just by keeping that consistency with that continuation of compound interest. So it's a path that over a 5-year period, you could be a millionaire just through that consistency, not just a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, just by being consistent in that way. Now, who wouldn't take that? Who wouldn't take that level of certainty to be able to earn and make millions without all of the risk of having to start and operate and manage a business or having to quit your job and go all in? You can keep your job. Absolutely. You should keep your job and just invest that amount of capital each and every month. And then you can have certainty over your ability to attain wealth. Now, as I say the word certainty, of course, as with anything in life, there's a level of risk, but what we're trying to do is increase our probability, reduce risk, and put ourselves in a situation where there's more certainty of a particular outcome versus less. And my argument here is that by investing and by putting your capital in stock, you have less risk of certain sets of circumstances where, when you look at, for example, the success rates on a business, I would argue that if you're smart and you do your research and you get the right type of support and counsel, you'll probably have a better opportunity investing in stocks, letting CEOs and CFOs and leadership teams of well-funded, prolific companies do the hard work on your behalf. I would argue you have a better opportunity to attain wealth than by trying to have to figure it all out yourself, starting your own business. Now, as with any investment, of course there's risk, right? The company can go under, things might not pan out well for that business. You may invest in a company and in the end, they just don't do what they need to do. They don't perform at the level they needed to. And it's also being able to try to find companies that can have 10% month over month returns, which isn't easy. Again, you have to do your research to try and find, but it's absolutely possible. If you had invested, for example, in Meta over that time period, or Nvidia over that time period, or Tesla over that time period, you would have significantly higher returns, significantly higher. All of the numbers that I just explained to you would be much, much, much higher had you put your money in any of those companies, for example. And when you think about it, these companies were all well publicized. They've all been in the press. They've all got investor relations pages where they tell you more about what they're doing and what their plans are in the future. And so it's absolutely not impossible for you to be able to find companies of this nature that look hot right now, that are in hot sectors, that are innovating and pioneering for the future, and to get your slice of the pie, because that's all you need. You just need to cut a slice of the pie, put yourself in a situation where you start investing, you start putting that little bit of extra capital that you have at the end of each and every month. You just put it in these companies each month and watch it grow. Let the compound interest work its magic, and then you can be in a situation where you get to benefit from the growth of those companies without having to actively do any work. So it was a phenomenal day for me yesterday. I haven't taken any profits out of that. I have so much belief in my portfolio and the company that even though I was up over $13,000 in one day, I'm going to continue to let my portfolio grow and compound over time, because I can see that there's much bigger potential over a 3 or a 5 year period. And it's all about patience. It's all about being able to stick with this journey over an extended period to truly win the marathon and not just the sprint. If you want any help or support with any of this, I'll leave a link in the description box below where you can send me a direct message. More than happy to help, as we will support each other on this continued journey. So I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, do like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I shall see you on the next one.